Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Hey Ellen, you're getting really patriotic this year. I've seen recently you've planted up a British patio container with only British grown plants.
You are absolutely right, I did, and it's a very beautiful British patio container pot at that. And all the plants in the container were from Hillier Garden Centres.
I know, gorgeous lavender. You've got that lovely perennial candy tuft as well. Do you like mine though? I've got that lovely golden acer. Are you jealous?
I am not jealous because mine is nicer than yours. So I planted up a really nice, cool, calming, well-being kind of pot, and yours was fiery and vibrant, wasn't it?
Wow, absolutely. And those plants were from Hillier Garden Centres, and then they actually support Series 7 of the Plant-Based Podcast.
And did you know that Hillier actually nurture over 1 million top quality plants each year at their Hampshire nursery? Hillier are your go-to for quality British grown plants.
So why not visit hillier.co.uk to shop now, or search Hillier Garden Centres on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, and you'll get loads of inspiration for creating your ideal garden or outdoor space.
So our guest on today's episode is an award-winning garden designer and a TV presenter. Arit Anderson has many wonderful gardens to shout about, including the RHS Garden of Hope at Chelsea Flower Show and a gold medal from the RHS Hampton Court Garden Festival as well. Arit is here sharing her passion for plants and the benefits of gardening. Plus, maybe we'll be able to get some gossip from behind the scenes of BBC Garden as well, because we do like a little bit of gossip. So welcome, Arit, to the podcast.
Oh, thank you both for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Morning. Well, thank you for joining us on actual Jubilee Day as well. But of course, this is the life of a freelancer. Obviously, you're there waiting to have a gorgeous Jubilee breakfast. I'm in Barcelona at the moment. Ellen's in Norwich too. So, yeah, we're all a bit everywhere. But we know, of course, you've been super busy because you were at Malvern, same time as us. You were at Chelsea. All of these different flower shows. You must have a really busy schedule, obviously the TV as well. But we want to kick it off just asking about your garden at home. Have you had any time in there, and will you get some time there this weekend?
Well, very interesting question. And unfortunately, I can't paint a beautiful picture for the lovely listeners because we're actually having works done in the garden. So the breakfast break was where my partner, we're in the exciting stage of digging out some levels. Mm-hmm. So we will be in the garden, but not unfortunately playing around with the floriferous. We've got to get a little bit for the hardscaping, but no, it's all good. And so maybe if I come back another time, I can then talk more romantically about the romantic part of the gardening. We're getting the bones in at the minute.
Minute. Have you got a time scale for it to be done? Well,
it's like any good plan, isn't it? The best laid plans. We've got a small garden, and when I first moved into the house, what was that, over 10 years ago now, it was literally a little plot of grass and 2 skinny borders. And then as I'm sure so many of us we nibble at the grass until the borders become bigger than the grass area. And also as well how ridiculous time flies. I can remember seeing some of those small plants that I put in. I remember Ceanothus. I must have moved it about 3 times, not knowing quite where to put it.
That's brilliant.
When it was about 2 litres, and now it's kind of towering over me. And you kind of blink and you think, wow, it's amazing how the maturity of the garden comes. But as a result of that, and obviously over the years, with career and trying to kind of have a day job and all of those things, the garden's gone through fluxes of lots of attention and no attention and being allowed to bound and get on with itself. So we are just in the midst of saying, right, okay, you're 10 years old. and we're giving you a facelift.
Okay.
So we're just doing a little bit of work just to try to kind of accommodate the space.
That's exciting though, isn't it? I know it seems like it's not the most exciting thing when you're doing kind of all the digging and hard landscaping stuff, but it's still an exciting process, isn't it?
Oh, it is, because I mean, I think also as well, Ellen, you know, we have our gardens and we're very proud of them, aren't we, if we're lucky enough to have them. And I remember, you know, because as many people know, I came into the career completely novice. I didn't have a history of gardening behind me. So I you know, when I first put plants in, the first few, I'd ring my sister, who is a gardener, and say, it doesn't look right. That plant doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. And she'd say, well, move it. And I'd be like, what? Mm-hmm. But I've chosen where it goes, you know. And I think that this goes back, sort of roll forward 10 years now. I've just had to say my goodbyes to a lovely Daphne Adora that I had, because, of course, guess what? In 10 years, it reached maturity. And 10 years ago, when I put the garden in, it was kind of, it served its place. But because we're now shifting things around in a small garden, this is, you know, I have a small garden. The main body of the garden is about 10 by 4.5 now. And we've just taken up a little bit of space for a small work studio for me at the bottom. So in this instance, it really has been a case of every space counts. And I've had to sort of take some choices on things and go, I'm really sorry, Mr. Daphne, because you've been amazing. But now I've got to reshift the garden a bit, because there's 3 more people that live in the house than when I first lived there. So we need a bit more space. And I think that's the thing with gardening. It helps us to manage change.
It's really realistic to do that as well. And a lot of people do think once you plant it, it's going to stay there forever. And I mean, if you've ever seen pictures of my garden, I've planted far too much. So I'm just going to be unplanting over the next few years, but that's the way I'm doing it, you know?
That's it. And that's a lot of, you know, especially like garden designers, and when you're first putting in gardens for clients and things, you know, again, because like, yeah, the maturity aspect has to come into it. So you find that in your herbaceous border area, let's say, you will put in more perennials and annuals with the view that there will be an editing process. Obviously, as they mature, people like to see sort of, if you like, a more instant garden. So you can plant it a little bit more densely if you've got the patience, and you want it just to literally, one plant goes in and I'm going to wait for it to mature. The problem with that, as we know, is that not all plants will like where you've put them, and they might. So that's why we put a few extra in case we lose a couple along the way, you know. A few will disappear.
It's like fun just to play with it, isn't it? And I also think a small space, like you were just saying how small your garden is, I think that's exciting. It gives you opportunity, like you think about the vertical space much more. And I don't know, with a small space, I find that you can be a bit more creative actually, because you've got there are plants that you really want to grow, you know, and you want them in your garden no matter what. So you kind of have to get a bit creative about how you design a small space, you know, to really maximize the use.
Yeah, I think you pay more attention to it as well, that smaller space. I've got this dream of having a lovely big garden, acres and acres, but it actually, to be honest, panics me a little bit. And at the moment, I'm quite happy with this postage stamp, because I can work with that. Do you know what I mean? Like to have a bigger space would be like, whoa, that's a job.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And I think, you know, obviously, you know, we all, like say, have that dream of having a bigger space because we think we'll grow more, and obviously there's more to look after. But I think also as well, that you tend to possibly have a lot more void space in larger spaces, you know, because of the rolling lawn area, let's say, or, you know, big paved areas. So you're absolutely right. Small spaces mean you have to work a lot harder. And you probably do a lot more sort of change and shift and add additions in, and because you're literally trying to get into every single space. So as you said, Ellen, whether it's using vertical walls, you know, I'm now my lovely neighbour, they've put up a new fence, and I've got a wall on one side. So now I'm having to play around because the canopy has matured in the trees I put in. Now I'm like going, right, now I really need to kind of think about how I've got to do the pruning because I need more lighting. So it's just this lovely constant flux. So I am, as much as there's a bit of a mess at the minute, I am enjoying the process because I think the thing that keeps you focused is the vision of where you're going to go with it. You know what I mean? And also, it's like somebody's like, oh, but you can't wait to get the garden finished. And as well, we know, just getting in the bed, the bedrock of it, the bones of it, that's actually when the garden's going to start again. So it's quite nice. I've got some of the old plants are going to still be there, my friends. Some are waiting to be replanted out. I've tried to save bits and pieces that I can, but the space is going to look at me and say, we need something different now. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah.
That's cool. You let the garden talk for itself.
Yeah, that's nice. It will constantly evolve, like everyone's garden does. Even if you garden with just like containers, like our balcony in NC, it changes all of the time. Like it's never the same. And I have had a vision for it that didn't play out very well for one reason or another. And it just every time I go back, it's different, and I plant something different. And even in that kind of like garden environment, it just evolves constantly, and that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Is that, Ellen, is that because you couldn't find aces anywhere?
Oh my god, don't talk to me about the fact I couldn't find an acer for like a year. It was a drama. I wanted a big acer, and could I find one? No. Anyway, I got one in the end, but everything else changed. Anyway, moving on. Arit, just for our listeners, it would be really good to know where your garden journey actually began, because you haven't always been a gardener, but now you are an award-winning garden designer. So how did your journey into gardening all start?
Well, it started, it kind of sounds a bit ironically, with a garden, as in the fact that I moved, as I said, into this property that I've been talking about. And I'd come from being in a flat. And prior to that, I hadn't gardened. I've always enjoyed outside space, don't get me wrong, but never actually had a garden of my own. I had windowsills at my flat, and would have the little window boxes, but wasn't always very successful with them, I've got to be honest. So to get the garden was really the start of it all, because I just thought, a garden would be there, look nice. I'd come home. I was working in fashion retail at the time. And I just thought, I'll come home, deadhead, glass of wine, chill out. My sister will help set it up. But, once I kind of got out there and put those first few plants in and they didn't kind of completely die on me, that fascination just kind of grew and grew and grew. I didn't want to do fashion at 50. So I knew that when the job I was in at the time had its shelf life was going to kind of come to an end. It got pulled forward through to some redundancies that were being done. And I think, and I'm very grateful for the fact that the question that I asked myself was, well, what are you going to do, as career going forward then, if you don't want to stay in retail? And it was a bit like, what's making me happy at this moment in time? And it was the garden. So it kicked off, this whole, when people look for new vocations or, want to look at careers, what is making you happy? And that was what was making me happy. So in true Virgo style that I am, I'm an earth monkey. If you look at me on Chinese horoscope, and earth is like I'm Virgo, which is an earth sign, and then also like an earth monkey, which is incredibly inquisitive and a little bit mischievous actually as well. We won't go into that. But it just got me really wanting to learn more, just even at home, just as the hobby, My sister was very impressed that I knew what ericaceous soil was, and I was being able to spout a couple of Latin names. And it was really her that spurred me on to say, look, I think as much as you're loving gardening and maybe becoming a gardener, why don't you try design? Because it will give you a little bit, it will give you the sort of more design aesthetic part, which you're used to in your previous job. So it kind of started from there. And just, I don't know, I think really meeting great people, just having a go at everything, volunteering, did go to Capel Manor as well, and just being around people that were in the industry, and along the way just a thirst for learning more, really. So that's kind of where it came from. And at first, I spoke about feeling incredibly uncomfortable at first. As much as the industry is very welcoming and very sharing, I felt incredibly uncomfortable that at the time, 46 or so, that I was a student, number one, at that age, and I was surrounded by so many people that knew so much, and I was like, I'll never gain that experience, and am I going to have a validity in what I'm doing? So yeah, that was it really. It was just being kind of spurred on. Sometimes I'm that sort of person that throws a stone, runs to catch up with it, then throws it again, and keep going, keep going again.
That's so cool though. And a lovely way to describe it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So tell us a bit about your work now, because of course we see you on Gardener's World. But it's not just that, because I'm sure you do lots of different events, flower shows, etc., etc. So what would a typical week look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, Michael. What does a week look like? I mean, I think people sort of see you on telly, and as you said, they think you're just on telly all the time, and really realise that actually I'm not on that much. It'd be nice to do more TV. So it's the classic portfolio, if you like, of work, but luckily now I've managed to put it all within gardening, because while I was transitioning from my previous work into this, I was still doing retail consultancy and trying to garden and trying to learn, and was and even now I do a slither every now and then. I get asked to go back and do something from retail, but yeah, like a typical week. So say, what have we got? We were just looking at the diary last night, actually yesterday. So and that typical week stroke month really, because it will flex, could be some filming with Gardener's World, as this is obviously the season where we're out and about a lot. Your week would include traveling to the shoot, so it's not just you don't just arrive. Take that into account. It could be also doing some writing for a magazine. So I'm very, very proud to be on the front cover of June edition Gardener's World magazine.
I saw this. Very good.
Cover girl. Gosh, that's amazing. So yeah, it includes doing some writing. Also as well, as you said, the show. So it's show season at the moment. So we've just done Malvern, which was great to see you guys there. And we've had Chelsea, and coming up will be Hampton Court. So this year I won't film on Hampton Court, but I'll be doing talks there. Yes, and so what was I saying? So writing and also sort of garden design as well for clients, and also I do some sort of charity work as well, in terms of the fact that I'm a trustee of the National Garden Scheme. So I was meeting beneficiaries this week, people that that receive the money from the NGS, and having some really interesting meetings with them as well. And I'm also a co-founder and director of the Sustainable Landscape Foundation, which we are in the process of doing some research on, and hopefully we'll be launching that in the sort of coming year or so. So it is made up of many different things. Sometimes I kind of go, oh, I've got the balance wrong, because there's a lot of free things I do. I so like helping people, and realise, oh no, the bank balance isn't adding up. So I think it looks a lot more glamorous at times. And I think, as you say, being freelance, it's great because you're captain of your own ship, and we can meet across the world on a Jubilee weekend when we need to. But at the same time, there's a lot of eye of a needle when everybody wants everything at once, and then all of a sudden there's like a fallow moment, and you think, oh, where's all the work gone? So yeah, that typical thing. It's a really funny thing that you should say that, Michael, because I remember each year coming into each year going, this year, everything's going to become a lot more consolidated. I'm going to know exactly what I'm doing. And each year is completely different.
I know.
This is my life. This sounds like my life, literally.
And also with freelancing, there's no off button either, is there? You're kind of always available, as it were, because of course the opportunities are kind of floating around everywhere all the time. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think the thing is that this is why I'm so glad to be in the world of gardening, if you like, because that garden, the garden, whichever it's yours or someone that you're visiting, is always about change. It's a complete, the garden changes. Even if you didn't replant anything, you've got to go through the seasons, you've got to have different birds and mammals munching through it or whatever. So I think that has helped a lot. You know, I don't know about you guys, even with the chaos that's going on in the garden at the minute, I still open that door every day and see what's changed. And I really like that. And I think, as freelancers, that's what you've got to be pretty robust and dig deep.
I quite agree. You do. And you just have to be so reactive and proactive all at the same time. And I think when you work freelance, you always tend to say yes. You say yes more than if you worked for an employer. Do you know
I love saying yes to stuff I can't do.
Yeah, I say that all of the time.
You
were saying about the stone. You were saying about the stone. You throw the stone, then you chase after it. That's a bit what it's like. It's like, I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to go, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I just said yes to something, and I don't really know if I can do it or not. But I'm going to go and do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that is, part of the joy. But you definitely, I'm sure you guys experience it when, like I said, I call it the eye of the needle, where you will literally be kind of waking up that day thinking, I actually don't know how I'm going to get all of these things done, because like you guys, I'm work on my own. I do have my lovely dear friend who works about a day a week with me, helping with the administration, but other than that, I'm pretty much on my own. So any extra help you need, is phone a friend if you can, you have to get extra help that way. But most times you're on your own. So, and of course you always, like you say, you always say yes. And even I said no to the RHS about doing the show garden, and there it is, done, delivered, and sent. And even when you first say no, people go, I'll take that as a yes then.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're a freelancer, no also means yes. Basically, everything's a yes, no matter what you do or what you say.
To us, isn't it?
But let's talk about getting a balance then, because if you're saying yes all the time and you're super busy, something that you are really passionate about is spreading the wellbeing benefits of gardening. And I know we talked a lot about this at Malvern. So why are you so passionate about the wellbeing benefits of gardening? And how do you spread that message?
Yeah, I am really passionate about it. And I think, again, it's something that's kind of probably always been within my sort of psyche, if you like, anyway. So one of my many different roles that I did prior to coming into horticulture and design, I used to be an holistic therapist, part-time. So I've always had an awareness of well-being and, been interested in it as well, and enjoy helping other people to find a better place, as it were, find a better place within themselves. And so what's been brilliant is coming into gardening and my own experience, obviously, but seeing it beginning more and more now to see how it's helping people. The advocation of it is just something that I just can't help, really. I think that at the moment, a lot of people, there's a lot of people that go, oh yeah, we always know that gardening's been good for you, digging and physicality and all of that sort of part of it, but there's more to it now. And obviously our world is completely different to, let's say, was it your uncle, Ellen, that you gardened a lot?
Yeah,
and that was 20, 30 years ago, even
40 years ago.
I'm big. 40 years ago, my darling.
Well, I'll take it. 2030 sounds good.
Take 2030. Take 2030. And I can imagine that when you was doing that gardening then as a child with your uncle, you didn't sit and think about why it's good for me, what it's doing to my heart and for my stress levels and my mental well-being. You just did it. Whereas now the world that we live in now has been analysed a lot more, and it's much more digitally, there you go, driven. And I can't get my words around that. And so our whole world is completely different. So as we know, the nature deficit, the nature divorce that we've had over that period of time has kind of left us bereft of a language and also a connection to why we need to be within our green spaces. And because I do have a very I'm very passionately driven about life and what we learn from it and how we operate within it. The wellness aspect is a given. And I think it's, it would be wrong of me to not be in a position where I'm able to communicate on behalf of others and share why gardening and being as well-being is so good for us. And I think people obviously worry that I don't have a garden. I'm looking at you, lovely Ellen, and you've got all your lovely indoor plants around you. Obviously, there's been a resurgence of indoor plants, given the fact that, did you realise that actually, the biggest net migration is indoors? The amount of time that is spent indoors is gone up by tenfold, so much, and so people don't get out, either because the space they live in means that they have to be inside because they don't have a garden space, but also our world, because it's in our back pocket, on a phone, on the computer, etc., we tend to spend much more time indoors. So advocating why we need to go outside, the benefits that we get from having nature around us is so important. We are nature. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think, I love it when I think about the fact that, if you really want to get into that sort of micro level, your mum and dad had to eat food that come from the soil, and for them to be able to be well and to get pregnant and give birth to you, everything comes from the soil. So we actually come literally from the carbon in the soil. And I think we sometimes forget about that, and everything we then eat and ingest and breathe is all given to us by the natural world. So the more we can be attuned to it, the more well we can be. It's almost like your internal environment is also reflected by your external environment as well. So the garden can be hugely supportive in that.
That's really good. That's such a great explanation of it. You're really good at explaining things in a very kind of grabbable way, I don't think grabbable's a word, but it is now.
Grabbable's a word.
Grabbable, yeah.
It's grabbable. Well, I think thank you, Michael, for saying that. I think that's the bit where I as I said earlier about, what's the contribution can I give into horticulture? And hopefully it's like any of us, we all just give different windows in, don't we? We all have lovely different vignettes that we look at our world through, and then we share it, we share it with people, and we look for kindred spirits. What was really lovely, Ellen, do you remember when we was at the talk and we had this one gentleman and we were talking about, vitamin G and the benefits, and we touched on no mow May, and this gentleman, he was older, so he knows his world. He's very experienced not only his gardening, but obviously he's lived a life. And he sat there for the first 20 minutes with his little arms crossed, shaking that head. No, I can't do the no mow May. And we were just talking about the benefits of why it's good. We understand. We didn't want him to be anxious, obviously, by not doing it, but we just kept sort of, just dripping in little ideas as to why it could be beneficial, just to at least have a try. He came up to us at the end of the talk. I hadn't thought of it like that. I'm going to give it a go. I'm just going to give it a go, and that's what we said. And if that's all you got to do, give it a go. And so,
that's so cool.
It was so cool. It was so nice. So I think that's
was so nice. It was lovely. It was lovely to watch his whole persona kind of change when he was sitting there, because Michael and I have often spoke about this before. When you're giving a talk, you do kind of catch on to what people are doing at the time. If they've got their arms folded, if they look a bit grumpy, if they look like they're falling asleep. And it is very often the ones that had you kind of glanced at and thought, oh, they're not enjoying this very much. It's often those ones who end up kind of turning it all around by the end and coming and chatting with you at the end.
You're right.
So
you're right.
Being in that position to be able to give those kind of little drips of information, grabbable information, in the role that you do is like it's really amazing, isn't it, to be able to do that and help change people's perspectives a little.
Well, I think that's why, the advent of obviously the podcast, etc. And, it's enabled so many people, especially like yourselves. As you know, I just done my first podcast series earlier this year. And the fact that you're then able to give that, let's use that lovely term, that grabbable information to people, because we all take information in completely differently, and to be able to give the world of gardening to people in a way that isn't too sciencey, isn't so that you feel overwhelmed because I don't have that experience yet.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that between the three of us, even sitting here now, we've got completely different experiences. So it's important that the three of us would still be talking, because there'll be hopefully somebody out there that relates to each and every one of us. And that's what I love about, you know, the gardening world. Where it overwhelmed me at first, oh my God, Ellen and Michael know so much more than me. Now I'm able to sit and between you and hopefully give you a different grabbable piece of information.
Oh God, everyone knows different things, and nobody out there knows everything at all. And there's I know very little really in the scheme of things. I'm sure of it. I'm just thinking, I think we'd look good as a new pop band, don't you think? Just talking about plants, you know, kind of sharing that love.
Yeah, we can actually kind of get this. I don't know about getting the songs though. I don't know. Maybe we'll let the plants do the singing. You know, like of all the harmonic plants.
That's great. Yeah, we should do the one where the plants are making the music, like they had at Chelsea. That'd be really cool.
Hello, I'm Anya, and I have created my garden by propagating plants. It's something I'm very passionate about. In the previous episode of the plant-based podcast, I explained how to take cuttings of hydrangeas. Now, few weeks later, it is time for the next and very exciting stage. After 3 to 4 weeks, your hydrangea cuttings have developed roots, and they can be gently potted up into their individual pots using peat-free compost. After potting up my new seedlings, I start feeding them once a week, and I also pinch them out to encourage my plants to branch out and to become more bushy and not to grow as a single stem. Propagation is something so exciting and really rewarding, and I hope that more people will get into it.
I've gotten, kind of with the interview, we have a sort of loose list of questions, but the next one I think is quite rudimentary, actually, and I might actually answer it for you. Do you have any tips for listeners on how to garden specifically with well-being in mind? And surely the answer is just start growing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your first port of call is start, and my start was an empty butler sink that was at the bottom of this very kind of bland garden. There wasn't very much in it, and I put 3 herbs in there, and the fact that they didn't die after day 1 or day 2 or day 3 gave me a confidence, and it gave me a little bit of confidence, and it also made me feel like, oh, I've done something, I'm contributed to something. And I think that, you know, sometimes the getting started can feel a little bit overwhelming, but like you just said, just get going. And I think that there's so many different levels that gardening can assist us. It can give us confidence. It can give us hope. Certainly hope, because every day you have to hope it's worked. It helps us with the to manage change. I've talked about that a lot, because that is a part of well-being, is about being able to navigate yourself through change, good change and difficult change. The garden is that acts as the constant, and what I mean by constant is that the garden doesn't demand of you. And when we were talking at Malvern, actually, I was having this little chat, and I love it when I get a new phrase, even for me, and I can now then put it into my vocabulary, which is the thing that's great about gardening for your well-being is that the garden doesn't actually need you. It would crack on without you. It would find its way. It might get a bit overgrown. It might get, but it would grow. It would be happy. It'd be fine. But we need the garden. And because of that, the garden responds and says, well, actually, because you do need me, if you do a little bit of facelifting here and a bit of extra planting there, I'll really bloom and and that's the bit that is the well-being aspect, is the fact that we have it's that engagement into the natural processes within our own safety zone of either our backyard or our indoor living room or our window box. It's a way that we can actually feel that we're contributing, and that in itself is nurturing. We at Chelsea, there was St Mungo's garden, and it's a garden that the charity works with homeless people, and they have a programme called Putting Down Roots, and they get gardeners, people who are homeless, as part of their I don't want to use the word rehabilitation, as a part of their way of reintegrating into society. Because obviously being homeless, you're very isolated, you're very on your own, it's very difficult to be around people. So by using gardening, it means that they can come together in a group. Either you can garden with someone and have that social interaction, which again is good for us. Or if you're a little bit nervous of that, then you could obviously still garden on your own. But the premise of it is, if you nurture a plant, you nurture yourself, and you slowly start to have that reflection coming back on yourself. I mean, how many times we've spoke about this, Ellen, haven't we? When you come out of the garden, or it could be even at home, in the indoor plants. Like the other day, for example, I did give you 2 examples. One, when you've gone in the outdoor garden and you're aching and you're like, oh, my neck, and I need a hot bath. But you know what? You've got that glow about you. You kind of know that you've done something, and the garden looks beautiful and spick and span, and all those leaves that you wanted to sweep up or whatever. And then even the other day when I come home after being at Chelsea for a few days, and the lovely family, bless them, they do and don't touch the plants indoors because they think they like to do it, and then they worry. And I'm like, oh, just water it if you see it limp. But I went round to all your plants and watered them all. And there's almost like a little sing back, because they were all like, yeah, great, we've had our water and our feed. And so I felt better because I was able to, all the little hydroponic ones that I'm growing, cleaned out all of the containers, and everything was sparkling. And then I was like, great, I feel really good about that. And that's the bit, I think, with well-being, that gardening and being around.
And it gives you that focus and that kind of distraction from anything you might be worrying about.
It does. Otherwise. You can't focus on anything else, I don't think, when you're gardening. In the past, I've thought I've got so much to do, but I really need to go to the allotment to sow some seeds or whatever it is. And in my mind, I'm going to the allotment and I'm thinking to myself, when I'm there, I'm going to make a mental list of all the things I need to do when I'm shopping, because I've got this and this and this to do as well. And then I get there and I can't focus on the shopping. All I can focus on is sowing the seeds. You
go to jelly.
You just you can't, you go, oh, jelly, and then you come home all achy and satisfied, and I love that achy feeling. I know that's really weird, but I love it because it's so satisfying. It's like the only achy feeling that I like.
And physically as well, you've done some fitness as well, which is important. So
definitely. And I think the thing is, well, that I've been very lucky, through garden as well, to go and visit many different places, and the kind of green prescribing and seeing that at work in a couple of centres, and it's brilliant. And the thing that I love about it is the fact that the green prescribing, or the way that gardening is, it doesn't care about your colour, your creed, your sexuality, where your mental state is. It's there for everyone. It's incredibly inclusive, and you don't have to have been experienced. You can be a beginner, somebody that doesn't have those green fingers. It doesn't matter. There is an access point for absolutely everybody to be able to do together, and having something that's so common for all is, I think, again, really empowering and really uplifting.
Yeah, I quite agree with you. That's a lovely feel-good chat, wasn't it? I can't wait to go down the allotment later today now. We've talked through your journey and how passionate you are about well-being and all of that, which is absolutely amazing. But we'd love to know what's coming up next for you. Do you have any projects planned for the future? Not least your own garden work, but anything, any garden designs perhaps in the future coming up?
Yes, what have we got? So we've got the community garden up in Cambridgeshire to finish. That was they were the winner of England for the RHS Community Garden Award. So we made a start in that just around sort of April time, May, and now we're kind of just sort of in the final stages. So great that we're being able to use quite a few plants from one of the Chelsea gardens. So I really like that fact as well, that we're reusing plants as well that have come from Chelsea. So that's nice. On the cards. I think it's not a secret, and I hope it's not a secret, and I'm allowed to say this, but I have just been told that I've been recommissioned to do a second series of the Growing Green podcast that Gardeners World magazine. If it's a secret, if it's a secret, keep it quiet. If it's not,
don't tell anyone.
So that's really great as well. I've got some symposiums actually that I'm very honoured to be hosting for some industry events, which is going to be talking around sustainability and moving that bigger picture forward. So that's kind of the really great part. And then I have a couple of private garden designs that hopefully just waiting to see if they're going to come into fruition as well. So, and then there's obviously being at Hampton Court, as I mentioned earlier. I'll also be at Tatton filming that for the show, and and Gardeners World Live as well. So if anybody
of course,
gets to Gardeners World Live, that's coming up sort of next. So this month is pretty busy, and then but within that, just one thing I was going to sort of say. About as we sort of said about trying to get breaks when you're self-employed can be quite tricky because you've got to always sort of be available. But one thing that I will be doing with some friends actually is what I call a wolliday. It's my working holiday.
Wolliday.
So that's what I always have.
Exactly. I think we're on a permanent wolliday where again, because we're all trying to learn all the time and connecting with people. So that's just taking some time out to go and visit some nurseries. We're going to go and visit. We're going to go and speak to a really interesting guy, see his garden down in Glastonbury, just outside Glastonbury, and going and talking to lots of different people because again, that's really important because it helps you to understand new ideas that are out there, new ways of thinking, meeting up with other head gardeners and seeing how they're getting on. So I think that sometimes in between the grind of the actual lovely paying bit that we all need, I do try to fill it when there's a little gap with some slithers of just going to talk to those lovely people that help growers who are an amazing people. Oh, and that's the other thing that we're going to be doing as well. It isn't a public event, I'm afraid, but we're going to myself and Beth Chatto Garden are going to be hosting an event for peat-free suppliers, peat-free growing nurseries, and we want to have a little informal chat with them and just see how we can make sure that they get much more access to the public and that more people out there know that there are nurseries that grow specifically peat-free and how we can support them because they're doing a great job. So that going back to your question, Michael, about a typical week or month.
Mega. I love it.
There isn't a typical week or month, is there? It's just all different. It sounds all good.
I love the wollidays as well because sorry, we could talk to you all day actually, Arit, but I know we need to wrap up soon. But you had a really nice trip to the Netherlands with Carrion about a month ago or so, and I love to see that because again, that is getting out there, talking to the people, seeing what's happening in the trade. That we know how it is when you're out filming, you never get a chance to even look around the place that you're filming in sometimes. So it was so nice to see that and follow your trip then as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was really good. Again, this is this whole thing about being the explorative and being inquisitive. So I'd love to have been in the Victorian times when the height of plant hunting and traveling around the world with my lovely Louis Vuitton travel case. That unfortunately or my Wardian box, etc. But on this particular trip, when I went out with Corinne and Andre, was about exactly that, Michael. Just going to speak to other growers, how they operate, and also as well, without going into the whole thing, we're no longer within Europe, etc. But as the horticultural industry, maybe listeners don't stop to think all the time about that our love of plants, literally comes from around the world. And of course, we've got big questions, which we'll maybe talk about another time, about the sustainability of bringing plants in from overseas. But equally, a lot of those plants we would say goodbye to if we didn't still work with our European friends. So it was a way for me to kind of get to understand some of the challenges, because I think in the world of gardening at the moment, it's definitely coming to the fore that a lot of gardening can be good, but if we don't do it in the right way, it still does have damage to the environment. So I think it's really important that people ask more questions. Where did that come from? How did you get that here? How do I, what is the material that you're using for that particular, tool? So I just was getting a bit inquisitive, because I am very conscious that it's very easy just to poo-poo things off. And like, I don't like doing that, and therefore it's wrong. You got to make sure that you understand the whole picture. And I think that's great. Yeah. So I kind of like to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't already, you should come to like one of the trade events sometime in Holland, like flower trials, which is at the end of June, and all the breeding houses are open. You kind of can get behind the scenes and see what's being created and why. And that's a great time of year to see what's coming up, and if they're, doing it for the right reasons here and there as well. So
no, that's a really good point. And somebody pointed out something to me today about the whole thing with like Holland as an example. And of course, this is my next little thing to think about, is that, the whole air miles, we're all trying to be a lot more conscious about how we travel and what mode of transportation. But, Europe, certainly the Holland and the Frances of the world, or the France, anyone, then they, in miles, that channel is only 26 miles, whereas obviously if I was going to get something to come down from Scotland, it's UK grown, but it's still got to come.
That's a really, really good point.
So this is why there's a whole raft of things to talk about on that side of gardening. But in terms of, I guess, at this precise moment in time, anything that we can grow in our own back garden, we know exactly where it's come from. But really interesting things on that horizon to be talking about.
That's great. And I think Ellen will agree with me. I love the way that you think, and you are looking at all the different angles, because it's so easy to just go down one angle and think this is this, and discount any of the other opinions. And you have to look at all of them, and more and more. Yeah,
you do. And it's I think that this is why we me and others, it's not just me, are looking to set up this Sustainable Landscape Foundation, because there is a lot of greenwashing out there, without a doubt. There is a lot of non-factual anecdotes out there as well about, how good or bad certain gardening practices are. So I think it's important to make sure that, from the public's perspective, from us as professionals' perspective, we need to make sure we've got some of the science-based evidence. We've also got experiential evidence from growers across the place. And the world that we live in now, in order for us to get at this world and us in a better place, never before has collaboration been higher on the agenda. So we have to understand how all elements work and come to, therefore, what we believe are best practices. Because as I'm sure if we were to talk to your lovely uncle back in the day, or a lot of other growers back in the day, some of the practices that were felt then to be totally okay, we now know, actually they're not. And vice versa now, the things that we're doing now that we think are okay. We're in a big world at the minute that's keeps talking about low maintenance and speed and ease, and almost taking the gardening out of gardening, if you know what I mean. Artificial lawns, composite fences, so we don't have to do any work to them. So there's a whole raft of things. But that's why when we come back to the joy of gardening, why do we garden? Then actually, I think that probably most of those quick wins that we want to get to, we would start to dispel. The place that I feel very lucky now that I did put in a couple of trees and shrubs 10 years ago, that now I can see myself, the speed of maturity, yet the slowness of maturity, because obviously when you're first beginning, you don't have that experience. And if you think about it, all those lovely designers from before, Capability Brown and all of those lovely people, they haven't enjoyed the world that we're now enjoying. They planted those trees for the future. So sometimes we can enjoy the now and think about the future. And it's important, therefore, that we understand what we're laying down, why, and trying to do it in the best way that we can.
Yeah, definitely. Just thinking about the impact of everything that you do, you know. So, that sounds really amazing.
This is so cool to talk to you, Arit, and we could have another hour, but Ellen is always hot on time. So, but before we actually wrap up, of course, we need to get to the real kind of nitty-gritty of, you need to give us at least one Gardener's World gossip from behind the scenes, or we won't let you leave the Zoom forever, and your Jubilee breakfast will go cold.
Oh my gosh, what's the gossip? Oh gosh, it's like there's a boundary between gossip and getting sacked, I guess, really. Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit behind the scenes is the fact that, you know, have we all been to Monty's garden? No. And that's my aims. I want to be able to go up to Monty's garden and hopefully do some gardening with him. People often sort of say to me, "Oh, what's Monty like? You know, is he as cool as he is on telly? And what does he know?" And it's like, yeah, he is. He's always been really open and welcoming to me, which is really great. Toby Buckland, he's always a bit cheeky. Toby,
I love him so much.
Toby, he is. In amongst all of that, you know, joy and joking around that he does, he's a really experienced gardener. He knows, and I love how he delivers what he does. But we have a little giggle quite a lot, me and him. So that's kind of like quite nice. I kind of like I feel like, have I got any gossip? Not
you
well.
You could always fake a bad connection now. Or say you're going through a tunnel.
Yeah.
To get out of it, Arit.
It's the bit I was going to tell you about.
Hey, I'm going to give you a bit of gossip. I can give you a little bit of gossip.
Go on, then.
Carol Klein is quite possibly the most... She's so knowledgeable. It's incredible. But she is always late.
But we all know that. That's not gossip.
We might do, but our listeners might not know.
Yeah, listen, she is always late.
I think that's an open secret in the trade, isn't it?
She's always late. So there you go, listeners. What a font of knowledge she is anyway. Thank you so much, Arit. It's been such a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love how all of these words have come out of this now. You're a grabbable wolliday.
I love that a lot.
Wolliday. It's great. No, it's genuinely a pleasure, and thank you for everything you do with spreading the benefits of well-being and gardening as well. We love seeing you on BBC Gardener's World. I have to just say I loved your Chelsea outfits as well, especially the sparkly one, the shimmery sparkly one, which was awesome. That is a hit.
I am so funny because as much as, like, you know, everybody's enjoyed the coverage this time round, wow, the dresses could have had their own show. I've got to be honest.
That's what we like to see.
So I'm going to on the grid probably in a few days' time. There will be a homage to the dresses and where they're from. So yes, listen, keep an eye on the Instagram grid because the dresses will get named.
It's always serious when there's a grid post.
Exactly. It's not stories.
She means business.
She means business. Yeah. Thank you so much, Arit. Much appreciated. We will let you get on with your Jubilee weekend. I hope your breakfast hasn't gone cold. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks. See you later, darling. I'll get back to my wolliday.
Bye. Lots of love. Bye.
Hi, I'm Lucy, the owner of Unwrapped and Refill, a zero-waste refill shop in Ipswich, located at 715 Woodbridge Road. As we all try a little harder to do the right thing by our planet, we continue to rethink how we do things. Everything we do now will have an impact on our future, whether this be for the better or for the worse. We need to start rethinking how we shop, what we buy, and where it is sourced from. What mode of transport we use, how efficiently we use energy sources, how we recycle our waste, and most importantly of all, what businesses we choose to support. There are lots of different ways that we can make quick and easy changes for the better. We can look at switching our bank accounts and energy supplies to more ethical ones, choose clothing items which have been sustainably made, use packaging which is readily recyclable or can easily be reused. We can walk, bike or use public transport where possible. We can also choose to refill as many items as possible to help lower on the unnecessary packaging which is everywhere at the moment. Another great way of rethinking how we do things is to consider if we really need it before we purchasing new. Are we able to make do without, buy second-hand, or even borrow from someone else? To be able to choose the latter three before buying new will have a massively positive impact on our planet. There are many sites and apps out there that can encourage us to reuse, donate, and choose second-hand before reaching to buy new. One of my favourite and easy-to-use apps is called Olio. This app is completely free to use and is local to your own area. You can donate food and non-food items, place a wanted post, or even loan products out for others to use. It is a fantastic resource to have, especially for saving food going to waste or even unwanted items heading into landfill. Remember, guys, together we can reduce, reuse, and rethink our way to a better future.
Series 7 of the Plant-Based Podcast is brought to you with the help of Hillier Garden Centres,
bringing you over 155 years of horticultural expertise.
Shop their top quality British grown plants,
both across their 19 garden centre locations or online.
And to find your local centre or shop online, visit hillier.co.uk.
Or search Hillier Garden Centres on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for inspiration on creating your ideal garden. Ellen, as you get older, you can't it's impossible to remember what you did the day before. And I'm not sure if that's a symptom of being busy or a symptom of just being a bit old.
I think it's a mixture of the two for sure.
Oh my God, because I'm coming into this gossip and it's like, well, I can't remember anything.
I was going to say to you, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Where have you been? And you'll be like, I have no idea. We're both laying down today though. Are you sitting or laying?
I'm sort of sitting in a kind of... I wouldn't call it a chaise longue. I'd just call it an awkward armchair.
Okay.
But I'm in a hotel in Holland because I'm here for the flower trials where you see lots of brand new plants, etc., etc. But I went to the hotel. They didn't have my reservation or something. They're like, it changed. So then I just booked another one on the spot. It's like when you become a seasoned traveller, Ellen, you book a hotel and then just roll up to it. Isn't that bougie?
I love it. I think it makes it more fun though as well.
Well, yeah, because it's so easy. Like, you're never stuck about a hotel. And even, I don't know what happened, some error with Expedia or so. But even if this had happened at 10 p.m. at night, you can still sort these things. And that is where, I think phones and the internet have really, really helped us out with that stuff, You
can sort something really quickly for sure. You have Expedia are really terrible at that. I'm now actually going to complain about Expedia.
Well, I said it's hotels.com, but I worried you wouldn't know what that was, so I just simplified it for you.
You worried that I wouldn't know what hotels.com is. You are so rude. You are literally so rude.
Why? What's happened to you? Because I have to say hotels.com have always been really good. What happened?
I've always found booking.com has been really, really good for hotels. I flew to New York a few years ago to stay in the same hotel as my sister and brother-in-law. And I got to the hotel at 11 o'clock at night and there was no reservation in my name.
Oh, really? I'd never, ever had it before in my life. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was tricky, and it was actually really tricky to find another hotel. And obviously there'll be other people who, who can't afford, they've already paid for it or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think I knew because hotels.com had always been good. I know that they would sort. So, yeah, I guess it's having that confidence. And because I have to book a lot of hotels, it's kind of you just, you get through it, I guess. But now I'm in deluxe suite. But then when I checked in, they said, oh, that's a different room to the one you've booked for the rest of the week. Because I was already booked here for the rest of the week. And I was like, oh, God, does that mean I've got to then go to a little box room? But apparently the one I booked for the rest of the week is superior room. So I don't know what could be better than this, Ellen, because I've already got a balcony and a coffee machine. I mean, they're the things that I like in a hotel. Like, I'm not bothered about anything as long as there's a balcony and a coffee machine.
That's all you need.
Well, I don't care if there's like a single bed. I just want a balcony and a coffee machine.
Oh, yes, it's funny. As long as
Ellen.
as long as the coffee's all right, though.
I was in England yesterday, where I'm from, and it was so bloody windy. What was going on? Was it windy where you are?
Not as much. It was a bit breezy in the afternoon, but not like terribly bad.
It was so creepy, like kind of like October kind of wind.
This weather has been really odd. Like every year.
Oh, Ellen, we can't have another year like last year. That was horrible.
I know. When you grow your own food, you see like every year how much it impacts what you're growing. And like this year, my carrots are so slow. Like even
really?
Developing so slowly. So it was so dry in April, then it was so wet in May, and now it's just like it's like warm, but it's cloudy where I am. And there's not really enough sun for things.
But I don't find it's consistently warm, you know?
No, it's kind of on and off, isn't it? Like we're meant to have a heat wave. So this weekend it's meant to be like 30 degrees, but then after that it goes down again, and I don't know. It's confusing.
Oh, I bet you wished you were in North Carolina with frizzy hair.
No, I don't.
Oh, no, I won't take the frizzy hair for anything, not even for good vegetables.
That's because I'm fiddling with my hair in it. To be quite honest, when the weather is like it has been here and the allotment isn't going according to plan, I do wish I was. I do wish I was in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I've got frizzies on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh my God, Ellen. But like, I've obviously been in Spain for like nearly 2 weeks. And then when you come back, you expect your garden to be really grown. And we talked about this in the last episode. And I always remember from a kid, then suddenly you come back and everything's like exploded. But I have to say, like, my tomatoes and peppers are barely grown, honestly. And I moaned to you about this the other day, and you said it was consistent watering, which I know that is the thing. But then what have I got to do? Like, you know, have a full-time job looking after tomatoes. They're really hard work, Ellen, I have to say.
You know what? Growing your own food is not simple. Like, there's so much that you can do, but you can't
go away.
Of it. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah,
I don't know. They just look so sad. I mean, I sent you a picture, and it's tough because you know that moment where you plant something, it doesn't quite. It's obviously establishing underground, like the roots, but like it just doesn't show you that it's working and growing for a while after that. Oh my God. And I've got no words to describe how much I hate my Portuguese laurel. And I'm really, honestly, if they don't do much this summer, I'm going to rip them out and go for cherry laurel, honestly, which I know is a disgusting plant, but it's literally 18 months and it's only given me probably like 2 shoots that are an inch long. It's alive, but it's, oh my God, I hate it. I hate it, Ellen. I really hate it. All 4 plants, I hate them.
Okay, I think we know you hate it. I remember them being planted and they took ages to like establish. Do you remember?
Oh.
And then
I don't think they're even established now.
I think if there is something in your garden that you hate, you need to get rid of it because your garden's meant to make you feel happy.
Oh, God, don't say that, Ellen. I literally will tear them out next weekend now you've said that. Well, you know I'm easily led.
If you're going to get rid of them, why not replace them with something that you really love? And then
no, but the thing is, like, I bought them fairly big. And probably because they're bigger, they're taking longer to establish. But it's quite an investment to have them big because I wanted to have that. But I think in retrospect, I probably was better having something a bit smaller, which might establish quicker and actually kind of get into its groove a lot sooner. So that's quite a lesson to learn, actually, because they were so big. It was almost like lifting, you know, when you're lifting like a tree, you know, when they lift an established tree. And I thought, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. Yeah. But like egg on my face now, isn't it? Sunny side down, everything.
Sunny side down, egg on your face. You can put them on Gumtree.
Like, don't throw them away.
Can you sell trees on Gumtree?
Yeah. Funny.
No, I'm not going to pull them out at all. I just want to moan about it for a bit more.
Oh my gosh.
I even gave them some natural grower. That's how desperate I was. I was like, just grow, come on, because my soil is pretty good. And they had natural grower last season, you know. But now I was so desperate, I gave them another dose. So honestly,
Michael,
they've had it good.
I'm not being funny, but have you ever considered the fact that maybe they just don't like you?
Oh, shut up. Anyway, you've painted your fence.
Partly.
I make that sound like an insult, don't I? How can I make everything sound like an insult?
I know you do. Yesterday, I spent way too many hours painting a picket fence at the front of my house.
You should have sprayed it.
I've done about 1/3 of it. It is the most
It's not
boring
done?
No, it's not done.
Oh.
Do you know how tricky it is to do it? Honestly,
You could, seriously, paint sprayers, you just put like a sheet behind and you can spray it.
Yeah, I didn't really do that. I just got a paintbrush and some paint.
Didn't really do it. You're so cute.
Like,
Is this because your box have come out, or is this another side?
I know that all of the picket fence that borders the garden is all being done, but I done the side where I pulled the box hedging out first because I could get to it naturally. But it was absolutely tiresome.
It's going to look so nice.
Boring. It will look better, but I haven't finished, but it is just so boring. But yeah, when I pulled out that box hedging, I don't know if we've said in our gossip before or not, but I had box tree caterpillar and 2 rows of box hedging. I pulled 1 row out and replaced it with lavender. And then the other row, I went against all of my values and beliefs, and I used nematodes because remember, this box hedging isn't mine. I rent for a start. And
you're so good to the garden for a rentee.
Wanted to try and save it, you know. So we used nematodes, and even while I was away, my mum applied them. And when I came back, there were literally thousands of caterpillars. It was insane. And when I pulled them out, they all just like fell to the floor, and then they stopped. It was like the most amazing thing to see. Like, they've obviously now gone to eat someone else's box hedging.
Oh my God, did you film it? You should have filmed them all scuttling away.
No, I didn't. I mean, I felt like very uneasy about the whole situation, to be honest.
That's like a horror film.
It was so weird. Like, they just all ran like away, like literally thousands of them. It was insane. And
oh my God.
Anyway, all the box hedging's up because there really is no treatment for it. So it was being replaced or maybe even shingled.
Oh my God, that creeps me out a bit. Oh God. Oh, Ellen, honestly.
It was a bit like a freaky show of some kind. But anyway, box tree caterpillar, if you do find your box hedging, munch, that is what it will be. Someone round the corner's got it as well. They had it before me. So it's not my caterpillars that have gone over there. But that's the end of all the box tree hedging.
Oh my God. Well, I saw that our friend Caroline threw a snail over the hedge the other day.
What, into my
Or was it a slug? Yeah.
That is
you know, I think we should... it'd be really cool to do this test, actually. Right. We grow lupins, and slugs and snails love lupins. Wouldn't it be cool to start growing lupins, but have the plants surrounded by a ring of sacrificial lettuce? And the slugs and snails will spend so much time eating the lettuce that they might not get as far as the lupins. Wouldn't that be cool? And it would look quite cute as well, right?
A nice bit of companion planting, yeah.
Oh, I'm so innovative. Oh God, it literally oozes out of me.
Lettuce and lupins.
Oh, Ellen, honestly, you are the cutest.
I would love to know something about the flower child. Oh my God, you are being really feisty today. What is the matter with you?
Because I'm in a deluxe room, Ellen. It's got to
Your ego has got.
I've got a balcony and a coffee machine.
You've got way too big for your boots now.
Oh, Ellen.
I would love to know about the flower trials, but first, I want to have a little word with you about something, okay?
Oh God, what now?
You're away for most of June. We arranged for you to go and water your plants. I go and water your plants. And then you messaged me that I burnt your house down.
Well, you did! I sent you a picture.
That was definitely not your house.
My neighbour was not impressed. But did you like when I messaged you? Like it was clearly a laugh, and you believed me for a half second. You were like,
for a half second, for like a millisecond, I suddenly thought, oh my God, what if I really did? Because like when you're looking after someone else's house or plants or whatever, I always like leave and did I lock the door? Did I shut the gate? Did I? You know?
Oh my God.
And then like you even said, you were like, oh, you must have left the gas hob on when you were cooking. I was like, what? I didn't cook anything. Like all these things, I didn't touch the cooker.
The next thing, you had a Shutterstock picture sent to you of a burnt down house. And you still believed it, even with the watermark. Not then, I could see the watermarks. And I could totally see that was not your laurel hedging at the back either. Oh, God, that probably wouldn't even burn down, would it?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, probably still.
Yeah, it'd still be there taunting me even when my house is gone. Jeez. Do you know, I would miss my Hoya polyneura, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Is that?
Do you know, it looks nice effortlessly, that. No, I guess when you saw my plants, did you notice probably a lot of them are a bit like in the dumps. I think last time you came and my, what is it? You know this plant in the bathroom? You told me it had mealybugs.
It's still got mealybugs.
Yeah. I want to be consistent.
Both of the plants in your bathroom have got mealybugs.
What? No, only that one.
No, both of them have got mealybugs, for sure. I sent you a video.
Oh, but I didn't know the Hoya had it.
The Hoya's covered in mealybugs.
Oh, they must be underneath. I hadn't seen them. Oh, God. Whatever next. I need to have like a houseplant amnesty. You know, like when you have one of those days and you kind of sort out, you cut, you repot. And I haven't had a chance to do that for like nigh on a year or something. So I really need to kind of do that kind of tidy, and that will sort everything out.
Oh, it will do. And like, it's a nice day to sort all your house plants. You know, do you know what I mean? You have a nice day doing it, but it's just
but I need to block out the day. That's the thing. Yeah. And when you're so busy, I usually have a day blocked out to do that sort of thing. And then I get to the day and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so knackered. And then I don't do the things that were kind of like the chill things because I'm just like, I'm just chilling. My mealybugs are just crawling around with your box caterpillars and they're all having a right old dance.
They're all having a right old laugh, aren't they?
I bet they're all meeting up at night. I bet they're meeting up as well with the mouse that lives in my garage. And they're like, right, let's... Oh my gosh. Did you see it?
I've got a mouse too in my garage, in my shed at the back.
What is their problem?
They're so cute though, but the one thing it did do is I've got all our camping equipment, and then you know when you put a tent up, you can have like a little carpet at the front of it. The mouse has literally demolished it, like eating all of it.
Anything that was material. Yeah. But mine also went into a bag of John Innes soil-based compost.
Oh my God.
Almost like it was making a nest like an ant. It's like, what are you up to? And I really want to get rid of it or them, but I definitely don't want to kill it. But how can you dissuade a mouse? Like, I could catch it and like then take it to the other side of town or something, but still, I don't know what to do. It's like, because it's kind of annoying, but also I don't want to do anything about it, you know?
Yeah, I haven't done. I just threw the camera, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I
guess we need to just live through it. And like, I've got my bird feed now in kind of sealed containers, and I guess it's just...
I was going to say, like, make sure there's...
Yeah, it's just a thing that happens, isn't it? At least it's not in a house, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's always there, like, just... Whenever I move something, it's always behind the thing, like scuttling away. It's like, are you actually just spying on me? And then I'm then disturbing you. And it's like, well, just stop watching me, you know?
I want to be your friend.
Oh, God. Is this a stalker?
You're giving
Is my first stalker a mouse?
It's like a pet. You've got your first pet in your new house.
Honestly. It's just mad. Well... Yeah. Okay. Well, flower trials you wanted to talk about.
Tell me about the flower trials.
So it's kind of like a trade event. So it's where like about 50 different breeders open their doors. And basically it's like kind of showrooms of plants and new stuff coming through, kind of different innovations, point of sale, so that they can show kind of how they would look in a retail environment as well. And yeah, it's really cool. And I often cover this on social media. So watch out on my channels for little previews and such of new plants that are coming up. So it's a really fun week. It's really knackering though, because you're like going literally so many different places, and it's like being at Chelsea Flower Show but 40 times because you're then kind of going somewhere and then you have to stay on schedule. And so, you know, if you meet someone, you can only have that tiny little clipped conversation that we often talk about. Otherwise you're thrown right off sketch, you know?
Right off sketch, eh?
Oh, do you know what? I use the word sketch in emails. And if you want to know how I spell it, it's SCHEDCH. Sketch. Yeah, it's quite cool, isn't it? Yeah.
You're such an innovator. Not
really
just plants, but also the English language.
I know. It's fantastic. And the best part of it is the modesty. Oh my God, look at these lights. These are insane. Oh, look.
I'm shaking my head at you right now. And yes, they're very cool.
There's always so many things to hit your head on in a bedroom. They never design them well. Or maybe I'm just writhing around too much.
Michael, you've got to your hotel. Are you going to get some time to chill out? Because you have been a super busy bee.
Yeah. I just got to do some work first, but that's chilling out, right?
Depends on what it is. But yeah, it can be.
No, to be honest, it hasn't. Like, I came across on the ferry, so I probably only had about 4 hours sleep. But it's been, I've only had like 2 meetings today. It hasn't been like so full on today. So, yeah, it's been cool.
Get an early night.
Yeah. I don't know. Early nights are difficult, aren't they?
Well, they are for me. Like, I'm a night owl. I wake up like 12, 1 in the morning. I'm terrible.
Yeah, but also like, well, I don't go to bed till like maybe 10:30, 11. But if that's the time you go to bed, to suddenly have an early night and go to bed 2 hours earlier is kind of really hard to do, because your body is used to, and your body clock is it's fairly trained, you know? Yeah.
Very much so. Like, I went to sleep really late last night, about 1, but I still wake up at 6:30. Like, I wake up at 6:30 no matter what. I might not get up, but I will always wake up at 6:30. I might lay in.
You won't get up, but you will. Would you then still sleep or something, or?
Sometimes I might snooze on and off, but generally I'm just awake.
Do you only have 5 hours sleep most nights, like Margaret Thatcher?
No, no way. Like, I couldn't function if I only had 5 hours sleep a night. Like,
but you just said 1 and then 6. What?
Last night I went.
But 1 is quite late.
Really late, yeah. And then woke up.
I thought you were always going to bed at 1, to be honest.
No, but then like if I wake up at 6:30, it might be that I then like snooze for another hour or so. You know,
yeah.
Or read or whatever, but I don't usually make it till 1 a.m. Like, but I am a midnight girl. Definitely.
Well, you look after yourself. Sleep is important.
It is important. I need my beauty sleep. Hey, talking about someone beautiful, Arit Anderson.
Yes, she's on Wollidays all the time. She's our guest this week, and I hope you enjoyed the interview. And yeah, it was great. But what was the 2 things? Like wolliday, I remember that word, but what was it? We invented another word during that interview. What was it?
I can't believe it.
Grabbable. Was it grabbable?
Grabbable. Yeah.
Grabbable and wolliday.
We are literally reinventing the English language in this gossip section.
We are, one step at a time.
Yeah.
But no, it was very cool. She's great, actually. It's so funny when you've watched someone on TV for so long. And I had the same with Frances Tophill. Like, you meet them in real life, and you're like, whoa, you're really cool. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Because you think they're cool on TV? Or do you get an impression of them on TV that's not cool, and then you meet them and you're like, oh yeah, you're cool?
Yeah, I think I just wasn't really sure, like what someone, because someone, like, I guess for me, would I be the same on TV as not? I don't know, really. I guess because you have to be a more official version of yourself.
Yeah. You're more serious on
TV
TV than you are.
Yeah.
You're more serious.
Which is weird, because you kind of don't want to be, but you sort of have to be. Otherwise, you kind of be a bit out of control, you know?
Yes, and you definitely would be out of control.
It's a weird concept.
I really enjoyed chatting with Arit. I think she's so lovely. She has such an eloquent way of putting things. Like, her message is similar to what I talk about well-being and gardening and all of that kind of thing. But she just has such a lovely way of putting it across.
And so open-minded and chill as well. And like when we talked about, what was it? It was talking on about like the sustainable stuff and kind of like about not being preachy or lectury, but realizing that different people comprehend things in different ways and kind of, and like not kind of always expecting everything to be a perfect world, that kind of thing. She was realistic, very realistic.
Yeah, loved it.
And concise. Yeah, really nice. Podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to start her fan club. I was in Alicia's Attic fan club when I was younger, and I also had the T-shirt.
Oh, I tell you whose fan club I was in, Bros. And
I knew you'd say that.
I watched the Bros documentary on Netflix last night. Wow, fame really does mess with people, doesn't it?
Oh, because they're all weird now? Or what?
I just feel like they're broken. Like, not weird. No one's weird. I think everyone's there who they are. But, like, just broken. Like, I think the fame at such just is messed with them. Like, as it does with so many really ultra famous people, especially when they become famous young. So, watch out, Michael, because that could be you.
Oh, shush. Oh, dear, Melon. Okay, well, I might need to get back to my balcony and coffee in a minute.
Yeah, I might need to get back to doing whatever I wasn't doing before.
Probably. Ella, that is your best joke of the year. That was good. Oh my god. Oh, ding dong. See, I knew I'd make you funny one day.
You'd make me funny. You're hilarious. Okay, well, it's been lovely chatting, but I need to go and blow my nose.
All right, likewise. The music for the Plant-Based podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.